Hello students, in this session we will see the physiological control system analysis, for which we will take an example of the physiological system and compare that physiological system with the actual control system which we have studied earlier. So first of all, let's see what is an open loop control system. So in open loop control system, we have one controller which generates the control action, and there will be one plant or the system whose output has to be controlled, but there is no feedback, so that like in this type of system we don't know whether the desired output has been achieved or not. So in ideal condition, if we configure the input as per the requirement of the desired output, the system works well. But in, as we know, in general scenario or in actual control system problem, always there will be some disturbances from maybe inside the system that can be generated, or from the outside of the system also. So those disturbances, these disturbances distort the output and deviate the outputs from the desired output. So to control these type of system or actual uh, practical control systems, or to tackle the disturbances, we need a closed loop control system where the output has to be tracked or checked at every instant. It is the desired output is there or not, and if it is not there, a control action should be modified. Type of control system is known as the closed loop control system. So in this type of system, we have this closed loop path where a feedback sensor has been used to check the output or to measure the output, and that has been given to the input again. So here a error signal has been generated, which is the difference of the input and the current output or the feedback signal. Depending upon the error, the controller generates the control signal or the control action, and that control action or the control signal controls the output of the plant. So the deviation of the output because of the disturbance has been constantly checked, and the control action has been updated depending upon the requirement. So this is the advantage of the closed loop control system, that is, it can tackle the disturbances or the noises developed inside the system or imparted from outside of the system. So normally we use negative feedback control system in the practical applications. To take the example of physiological control system, the muscle reflex, stretch reflex is one of the most fundamental or the simplest control system in physiological domain. So the most notable example of this kind of reflex is the knee jerk. So it is used in the routine medical examination as an assessment test, or as an assessment of the state of nervous system. So the complete architecture of physiological control system. So this particular system, for this particular system, it starts with a sharp tap on the knee. So a sharp tap to the patella tendon in the knee leads to an abrupt stretching of the extensor muscle in the thigh, to which the tendon is attached. This activates the muscle spindles, which are stretch receptors. Then a neural impulse which encodes information about the magnitude of the stretch is sent along afferent nervous fiber. to the spinal cord. So this information has been sent at this particular point. Then, since each afferent nerve is synaptically connected with one motor neuron in the spinal cord, the motor neurons get activated and in turn different afferent neural impulses back to the same thigh muscles. So this is the different neural impulses are sent back to the thigh muscle. And these mm, afferent neural impulses that are sent back to the thigh muscles produces a contraction of the muscle which acts as a straightening of the lower leg. So this is sent to this particular point here, here and here. So the leg get straight. So this movement has been achieved. So basically the control system act as a reflex has been generated in terms of straightening of the leg when a disturbance is given to the system, that is as a sharp tap. That sharp tap which is given to the patella tendon. In response to that, our control system developed a control action which basically straighten the human leg. So if I this particular figure, it can be simplified like this. So there are number of important features of this system which should be highlighted. Like first, this or other stretch reflexes involve reflex arcs that are monosynaptic. That is only one uh, that is only two neurons and one synapse are employed in the reflex. Other reflexes have at least one interneuron connecting the afferent and efferent pathways. Secondly, this closed loop regulation of muscle length is accomplished in a completely involuntary fashion, as the name suggests, like reflex. So, from the name only, we can understand that it works in an involuntary fashion. So, this is an involuntary movement, we can say. And the third important feature of the muscle stretch reflex is that it provides a good example of negative feedback of physiological control system. So next, the physiological system to the actual control system. We can see that the thigh muscles corresponds to the uh, or compared as in plant or controlled system. The disturbance X is the amount of initial stretch produced by the tap of the knee. So this can be considered as a plant, thigh muscle, and the disturbance is considered as the tap that is induced. Now, because of the tap to the knee, a proportionate amount of stretch Y in the muscle spindles which act as a feedback sensor has been generated. So that is the feedback sensor. The spindles translate this mechanical quantity into an increase in afferent neural traffic that is represented as Z, and it is sent back to the reflex center of the spinal cord. So this is we can say the The muscle spindles are sensing element. It senses the muscle stretch and send it to the reflex sensor, that is the spinal cord. So this spinal cord or the reflex center is considered as the controller, and in turn, depending upon this muscle stretch or the feedback signal, the controller action has been taken. The controller action is an increase in the afferent neural traffic, that is the control action U, directed back to the thigh muscle, which subsequently contracts in order to offset the initial stretch. So it is indeed a negative feedback system, since the initial disturbance, tap, that is the tap induced stretch, leads to a controller action that is aimed to reducing the effect of the disturbance. So basically we have seen or gone through a physiological control system example, that is the knee jerk problem, and we compared element wise element the block diagram formation of a closed loop control system and the physiological control system. So there are many other examples in physiological or human body that can be compared similarly.